Hello, and welcome to Wallace's Mysteries of Antiquity. Subscribe to the channel if you wish to join me in exploring the enigmas of our distant ancestors and try to come to tentative conclusions about them. It's been an interesting month for independent researchers of ancient Egypt. We had two very skilled researchers looking at when the Great Pyramid lost its top. Both narrowed it down to a single year, and they disagree with each other. Both used first-hand accounts to do their research. As someone who's been deep in the documents weeds, I even recognize several of their sources, such as the appendices of operations carried on at Giza. In Howard Weiss's time, it was common to not only include a reference, but an excerpt from said reference in the back of the book. As far as I can tell, though, neither have been able to provide evidence in stone. That's what this video is going to be. I'm looking up close and mapping all of the graffiti. If a soldier was stationed up there during the Battle of the Pyramids, like Night Scarab suggests, they'd have a lot of downtime, and likely carve something that I'd hopefully be able to find. If it happened in 1798, like History for Granite suggests, I shouldn't be able to find anything from before that. I'm going to keep you in suspense, though. Some of the graffiti is very hard to read, dull, carved over, and it's going to take some time to finish. There's a lot of stones, and it's requiring every graphics trick in my arsenal to tease out the faintest marks. This likely won't even be my next video, but further down the line. I'm still gathering photographs and videos of the top. If you know of any, please let me know. But it led me to a video of a teenager climbing up illegally. Unlike most people who climb up the corners, this kid went up the west face. Ever since my Bent Pyramid video, I've been scanning high-resolution images of the west face of the Great Pyramid, searching for a blocked passage, so I wouldn't expect any surprises during the climb. I'm more interested in what's on top, so I'm barely even paying attention as he climbs, but 53 seconds in, I see this. What is that? Why is there random masonry here? This is completely out of place. By this point, he's nearly 2/3 the way up, and this is not a small job. Someone claiming to be an Egyptologist commented that it's the blocked-off Queen's shaft. I'm very sure this was not an Egyptologist, because they would know the Queen's shaft don't even reach the exterior. Based on the rest of the comment, they're thinking about the Man-Killer Tunnel, which is on the north side, not the west. As far as I know, there's really nothing of note on the west side. I asked some experts, they didn't know. I read every source I could find, from Paring and Weiss to Keith Hamilton to academic sources. I found zero references to these bricks. I'm sure someone somewhere must have documented this. I do research in all the major languages in Egyptology, but I only really know English and French. Everything else I'm reliant on translating tools. I find it most likely that the documents I'm looking for do exist, but I don't know the right foreign word to find it. Searching for masonry or bricks with regard to a giant stone pyramid with multiple names is like looking for a needle in a frickin' pyramid. In desperation, I asked Reddit. They're surprisingly knowledgeable there, but they didn't know either. Between everyone I spoke to and my own intuition, I've cobbled together a number of theories for us to look at. But before we do, we should look carefully and make notes of anything interesting. The first thing that's obvious to me is the quantity of stones here. This is 100 meters up the pyramid, and I'd estimate there's at least 3 or 4 cubic meters of brick visible, or about 5,000 pounds. This is not a small job. No matter what the time period, the only way I see bricks getting up there is by manually carrying them. Not even modern equipment would aid in this, at least not without being destructive elsewhere. If we look at the weathering of the mortar and stone, I think we can eliminate the last 100 years anyway. We cannot assume the bricks were ever neatly squared, but looking more at the mortar here, I see significant wear. There is a clear distinction between the pitting of the stone next to it, so it might be tempting to also eliminate the distant past. However, there are other limestone blocks nearby that do not show this pattern. So I think we are simply looking at different quality stone here that would account for the difference in wear. We cannot eliminate the possibility that these bricks are ancient. I see 4 distinct blocks that were replaced with these bricks. A trustworthy source claimed that there are a few more like this scattered around, but wasn't sure where they are. One idea is that this is a construction to reinforce this part of the pyramid, perhaps after an earthquake. These supports in the bent pyramid I'm showing you are exactly that. But looking around in the video, we see no sign of precarious stones. There is no weight on this masonry. I think we can eliminate any theories about them being added for support. Some have speculated it's to aid climbing. I can eliminate this easily. This is not a common route up the pyramid. Climbing up a face is significantly more dangerous and difficult than going up the corner, which is what all old photographs show tourists doing. This is also way too much work for that. Remember, we're talking 5,000 pounds of brick. I nearly jumped out of my seat when I first saw it, to be honest. After learning that no one noticed the west passage of the bent pyramid until Perring knew where to look with a spyglass, and knowing no one knew there was an upper section of the Great Pyramid until scanned pyramids a few years ago, I've been searching for a hole exactly here. I've had this train of thought for a while, and he's right where I predicted it should be. I assumed there'd be a big blocking stone, but masonry works too. Here's how. If robbers had found the upper section in antiquity and smashed the blocking stone, when the New Kingdom fixed them up, they may have wanted to once again seal the upper section. Though this certainly doesn't seem like it's an entranceway, does it? There are 3 blocks replaced with brick here that are offset from each other, and just out of sight there is a 4th set a little higher up. But let's continue this line of inquiry for a moment more. There is significant wear on some of the stones. They seem to have been exposed to the element for longer than others. This could very easily be explained by them simply taking rocks from a part of the quarry that already looked like this, but what if the casing stones fell off here long before the 1303 earthquake? What might cause that? Perhaps a tunnel collapsing. If the upper entrance tunnel collapsed, there is no telling how that would be presented on the outside, but likely some damage would be visible. This could also explain how the ancient Egyptians were able to do this. 5,000 pounds of stone had to be hauled up what used to be a very smooth face. But if there is a way into the upper section from the lower section and the New Kingdom knew this, they wouldn't have to climb the side to reach the collapsed tunnel. They could go through the pyramid. To be clear, this is speculation piled on top of speculation. I do not actually believe this is evidence of a collapsed tunnel. I simply cannot eliminate it as a possibility. Another possibility that seems more likely is that it's a simple repair job. The New Kingdom, as I've mentioned, fixed up the pyramids. If casing stones had fallen away here and pulled their backing stones with them, they'd have to be replaced. There was no chance they could drag huge stones up the face, but once one person climbed up there and secured a rope, the bricks could slowly be carried or dragged up. I don't like this theory, though, because the patches only seem to go to the outer masonry. There is no evidence of further masonry that would be needed to extend to the casing stones. A similar theory posits that it was a Middle Ages ruler who patched it up, supposedly after a cannonball was fired at it. I dislike this theory as well. There are missing blocks all over the pyramid. Why replace these? By the time this supposedly would have happened, the pyramid was already dilapidated. If this was a half-assed job, surely you'd start at the bottom, not way up on the side that faces away from Cairo. One of my own ideas was that we are looking at invasive burials. The Great Pyramid may have itself acted as a cemetery for powerful individuals. When might this have happened? Considering they appear to have replaced the current outer layer of masonry and there is no indication of masonry that fell away, it is a safe assumption that this is how it looked when it happened. That puts us at the 1303 earthquake at the earliest. I see 4 locations. I also notice that the bricks in each location is more or less the same size and shape. I think it's logical that all 4 of these things happened at the same time or in rapid succession. I see no evidence of grave markers to determine any greater detail, so let's work through some logic and speculate a small amount. These would have to have been important individuals. The operational cost is not insignificant, and it would require a team of workers. That's paradoxical, though, because you'd think a powerful individual wouldn't want to be in such an out-of-the-way place. I wish we had better footage. I wonder if there's writing on or near the bricks. Maybe these were soldiers or priests. The final idea is the one that I find to be most likely, and funnily enough, it was offered as a joke. Quote, "There is a heart container behind it," end quote. This is a reference to the game The Legend of Zelda. I'm not kidding. I laughed with him, but when I thought about it some more, obviously there isn't a heart container on the other side, but I do think there's something. Perhaps a retreating army hid valuables in a hole in the pyramid out of sight, intending on retrieving it when the enemy was ejected or as part of an insurrection, but they were never recovered. When I say valuables, I could mean literal gold, or something valuable to them, like a weapons cache. That's why it's built to look like it's naturally part of the pyramid, and why it's so high up. It's meant to be disguised, findable and accessible only to those who knew it was there. I couldn't tell you if this was the Nazis, the British, the French, the Ottomans, or an even older conflict. I'd guess, based on the visible wear alone, that it would be the Napoleonic conflict, and since caches are usually left by retreating forces, this would make this an Ottoman cache. If you're a subscriber, you know I tend to be very grounded and prefer the mundane explanations over wild ones. I thought at first it was a repair, Occam's razor, but the evidence says that's just illogical. Something is behind those bricks. That's what Occam's razor is telling me. Me being grounded is knowing that it's probably guns or burials, not gold. But yeah, tentatively of course, with what I have available, I think I found a treasure behind a secret wall in the Great Pyramid. All I have to go on are these few frames of low-quality video. If you know what these really are, or even better, know of documentation, I would love to be informed. I'm not a treasure hunter. I just want to know and be able to share it. And it is also worth noting again that these bricks are right in front of the Great Void. Thank you for listening. Respectfully discuss my thoughts or share your own below in the comments, and subscribe if you wish to continue to explore the mysteries of our distant ancestors with me.